From the All Indiana Podcast Network.
The All Indiana Podcast Network.
This is the News 8 Daily 8.
Now all the latest news.
Kylie Conway has all the news you need to know.
And more.
Please stand by.
Now, here's Wish TV's Kylie Conway.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is the News 8 Daily 8 for Wednesday, April 21st. It is cold, and it's going to stay cold. 20 degrees below average today, in fact. The snow has moved out by this point, but will only reach the mid-40s today. It's also going to be another cold night. A freeze watch is in effect from late tonight until tomorrow morning.
Members of the jury, I understand you have a verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. As to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. As to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty.
After almost 10 hours of deliberation, the jury spoke. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin is waking up in prison today. A bailiff handcuffed and led Chauvin out of the courtroom yesterday, guilty on all 3 counts in the murder of George Floyd. Floyd died, of course, after being pinned under Chauvin's knee for more than 9 minutes last year. People across the country are marking what many hope will be a turning point in America. In Atlanta, there were crowds captured singing and marching and chanting. In New York, crowds marched with flags and signs just outside of Barclays Center. Minneapolis saw marchers carrying signs as well, people cheering and honking car horns on city streets and near the courthouse. The headline in today's Minneapolis Star-Tribune reads, "Convicted." After a long trial for Chauvin, many are calling for attention to return to the man killed.
George Floyd mattered. He mattered because he was a human being. And there is no way we can turn away from that reality.
President Biden addressed the nation shortly after the verdict. He called it a giant step forward for combating racism in America, but repeated it's not enough. We can't stop here. He asked the entire country to change hearts and minds to recognize racism when we see it or feel it.
The systemic racism is a stain on our nation's soul. The knee on the neck of justice for Black Americans. Profound fear and trauma. The pain, the exhaustion that Black and brown Americans experience every single day.
Thank you, Mr. President.
President Biden also made a personal phone call to George Floyd's family. They gathered in the courthouse with the president on speakerphone. He called them an incredible family, wished he were there, and promised more change, especially for Floyd's daughter, Gianna.
I think if Gianna's coming, my dad is going to change the world. He's going to start to change it now.
That's right. Yes. Amen.
Start to change it now.
Vice President Kamala Harris spoke on the phone as well and to the country, saying racism is holding our nation back from reaching our full potential. Up until this point, the White House hadn't spoken for or against a guilty verdict. President Biden had denounced Floyd's death and Tuesday said he was praying for the right verdict. The judge in this case had come out earlier this week calling on elected officials to refrain from comment while the jury was still deliberating. Those statements are often grounds for an appeal of the verdict. And the chief for Minneapolis police released a statement overnight. Chief Medaria Arredondo is calling for calm, safety, and peace after the jury's decision. He wrote, "We recognize that our community is hurting and our hearts are heavy with emotions. However, I have hope. The community that I was born and raised in and that we serve is resilient, and together we can find our moment to begin to heal." Chief Arredondo is asking people to be peaceful and lawful in their actions. And some are hoping that the verdict will provide momentum for police reform. The George Floyd Justice in Policing Act has stalled in the Senate after passing the House. There's more pressure than ever now on the Senate to enact nationwide police reform. Members of the Congressional Black Caucus gathered in a room to listen to the verdict. There were small cheers made as each charge was read and guilty was heard. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, gathered with the group outside the Capitol after the verdict was read. She made it clear it's time to enact the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act so this doesn't happen to another family. Indiana Congressman Andre Carson took to Twitter to let constituents know he was outside the Capitol with the group to reaffirm commitment to police reform, saying on social media, "While there was accountability, we have more work ahead to achieve justice." 56 members of the group said this verdict is only the beginning to future change.
We are hopeful that today will be the catalyst to turn the pain, the agony, the justice delayed into actions that go far beyond today. We stand with the family who have suffered so much.
Former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama praised the guilty verdict, but also said there is more work to be done, saying Black Americans are treated differently every day. It requires us to recognize that our friends, family, and fellow citizens live in fear that their next encounter with law enforcement could be their last. The George Floyd Policing Act passed the House in March. The legislation aims to combat police misconduct, excessive force, and racial bias. Republicans say this goes too far and would prevent police from doing their jobs effectively. And the King Center is weighing in on the verdict. The center released a statement overnight writing, although Chauvin was found guilty, this nation still faces an arduous journey toward implementing the demands of justice. The center went on to write, we recognize that there are many facets to ending systemic and overt racism, including the criminal justice system. We haven't heard from Chauvin or his attorney since the verdict. This morning, the Star Tribune is reporting that Chauvin's lead attorney, Eric Nelson, left the courtroom without comment. There's no word yet whether or when he will file an appeal. Sentencing will be in 8 weeks, and Chauvin will remain behind bars until then. He was transferred to the Minnesota Correctional Facility Oak Park Heights. That's according to the spokesperson of the Minnesota Department of Corrections, Sarah Fitzgerald. Chauvin could face up to 40 years for second-degree murder, 25 years for third-degree murder, and 10 years for second-degree manslaughter. Minnesota's sentencing guidelines recommend about 12 and a half years in prison for each murder charge and about 4 years for the manslaughter charge. In this case, the state has asked for a tougher sentence than the recommendations provide. The judge will likely consider Floyd's death taking place in front of a child and the relationship between officers and the community when determining Chauvin's sentence. The attorney who represented George Zimmerman in the Trayvon Martin shooting says the judge will include other factors in determining Chauvin's sentence.
Well, it tells the judge, who's going to be the sentencing authority here, that this jury was certain. They didn't take too long. There wasn't a lot of compromise. There weren't questions about what to do. They knew the law, they knew the facts, and they applied them.
3 other former police officers facing charges in Floyd's death are expected to be tried together in August. Jay Alexander, Thomas Lane, and Tu Tao are all charged with aid and abetting second-degree murder and aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter. And just after the jury's decision, News 8 spoke with 2 legal and criminal justice experts about the case. Former Marion County prosecutor Carl Brizzi says even with recorded proof, he originally believed the deliberations may not end in straightforward verdicts.
I never thought for a second that he would be acquitted. I did think there was potential for 1 or 2 holdouts, and that would create a hung jury, and that would create a mistrial.
Stephanie Whitehead is an associate professor of criminal justice at Indiana University East. She points to the testimony from other police officers as critical to the jury's decision.
He had his own colleagues testifying against him, I think was a big shift in the way that these cases are usually handled. I mean, you had the chief of police there saying that this didn't follow proper procedure.
Whitehead tells News 8 that one change the country has seen because of the case is states banning qualified immunity. That's rules that provide some protection to police officers and sometimes prevent them from being charged. Powerful, relieved, and hopeful. Those are just some of the emotions some in Indianapolis tell us they're feeling after the verdict. Some Black leaders in the area say George Floyd and his family finally get justice. According to the CEO of Circle Up Indy, it was especially important that Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 counts.
We've seen something that we've never seen before, true justice against the officer that punished a Black man.
Derek Wilson says he feels like the most powerful moments of the trial were the testimonies against Chauvin from fellow officers and the chief of police. Wilson is hoping this is not a one-time win, but a step in the fight for criminal justice reform. And the verdict is prompting many to take a look at the first message police sent out about Floyd's death the day after it happened. A news release from Minneapolis PD said, "Man dies after medical incident during police interaction." Bystander video soon revealed a much more intense situation than those words had suggested. The most widely seen version came from a 17-year-old. Now the governor of Minnesota is thanking her.
Thanks for Darnella Frazier. the humanity that stood on the side of what's now George Floyd Square. And taking that video, I think many folks know, is maybe the only reason that Derek Chauvin will go to prison.
Frazier is talking about the guilty verdict on Facebook. Her post reads in part, "I just cried so hard. Thank you, God. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. George Floyd, we did it. Justice has been served." Another person who was there during the deadly arrest is sharing his reaction. Donald Williams was one of the first witnesses in the trial. He described Chauvin's hold on Floyd as a blood choke. He says the verdict has him thinking about younger generations.
I want my son and my friends' kids, my kids, my son's kids, my daughter kids, and my nieces, my nephews. I want them to be able to be, understood as a black human being in America. I want them to be able to have justice if their rights are being broken. So this just means a lot. Being in history, I'm not really understanding how much history I am, but just listening to people around me and the different feedback I'm getting from my social media, that I'm getting from my teams around, this is really huge.
Williams says the conviction has lifted a huge weight off of his shoulders. The Indiana Black Legislative Caucus is calling the verdict a triumph for truth. The caucus wrote, "This is how the system is supposed to work. One system applied to all people, no matter the color of their skin, holding criminals accountable for their actions, no matter the color of their skin." The caucus adds, "This historic decision paves the way forward for our country and our criminal justice system. The future is at our feet. We need only be brave enough to step forward." And recent research shows how uncommon murder convictions are for police officers. Bowling Green State University in Ohio analyzed the data from 2005 to June of 2019, about a year before Floyd's killing. Researchers looked at law enforcement officers arrested for murder or manslaughter for on-duty shootings. 104 officers were arrested on those charges during that period. 35 of them were convicted of something. 4 were found guilty of murder. Researchers say they continue to collect data about officers who are charged. That would include the shooting of Dwante Wright in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. Wright was shot and killed by Officer Kim Potter earlier this month. She has since resigned and is charged with second-degree manslaughter. In the FedEx mass shooting, a national group says it is clear that the shooter went to the facility to kill Sikh people. The Sikh Coalition sent an 8-page letter to the chief of IMPD urging a full investigation into Brandon Hull's past and whether hate fueled him. Many Sikh people work at the FedEx facility, and 4 of the 8 people killed were Sikh. The letter says in part, "The reality is, even if Mr. Hull was a disgruntled employee, due to the fact that Sikh employees were getting more hours than him or for any other reason, it is essential to connect the dots of all of his activities leading up to this tragic attack to fully understand the role racism, xenophobia, and white supremacy may have played in his alleged anger toward his former employer." And one of a kind, that is how the family of one of the FedEx shooting victims is describing her this morning. Amarjeet Johal's family says people who met his mother will not forget her. David Williams reports.
It's hard to see our life without her, man. It's very hard.
Narinder Johal's mother, 66-year-old Amarjeet Johal, was one of 8 people killed at the FedEx tragedy last week.
We just needed more time. I don't know what else we were going to talk about. I don't know what she had in her heart she took with her. We had a lot more to talk about. This was not enough time.
She had worked at FedEx for about 5 years, her son says, because she wanted to. She was so well liked at work, her son says many people called her aunt.
If you would have spent a couple hours with her, you will never forget her, man. Never.
She had 5 grandchildren and loved them dearly.
I see a true smile out of her when she's around my kids. Just joking around, laughing. These kids will wrestle with her. Just play around, just acting stupid around her so she'll stay happy, she'll keep on smiling.
They moved here from California years ago so she could be closer to family. The simple things in life made her happy, and she loved to cook.
She just wanted to cook for everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. It could be snowing outside, freezing temperature. She'll open up the garage a little bit, just cook in the garage.
He says hundreds of people have come by to give their condolences.
I'm blessed. I had a mom like that, and America lowered their flag down. That's saying it big.
In the wake of the tragedy, Narinder has a message for the community.
I want to say stay away from weapons. If you can't fulfill somebody's rules and regulation, if you're going to work for, just walk away. Don't hurt people like us, like other people.
Even the house they lived in together, he bought for her because it made her happy.
But she always get up and look around the balcony how we're doing. Oh, it made her happy. That we're happy.
His mother's legacy lives on.
I'm not trying to be like her, see if I can, but I will try. So when I leave, people will remember me like my mom.
I'm David Williams for Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.
Now to happenings at the State House. A budget deal is nearly done. The governor and legislative leaders unveiled it Tuesday. It's a $37.5 billion plan. The budget bumps up education spending by $2 billion over the next 2 years, boosting teacher pay and school choice programs. It also sets aside dollars for broadband internet and other infrastructure issues.
This budget truly is transformational. It's transformational when it comes to investments we're going to make in people first and foremost, obviously our state's greatest asset. It's going to allow people not just to have more hope than ever, but it's going to help them realize new opportunities in their lives.
Holcomb says there are still some fine points to hammer out before a final vote and his signature. Johnson & Johnson is facing another setback in producing its single-dose COVID-19 vaccine. The FDA has ordered the company to stop production at its Baltimore plant for a second time. Johnson & Johnson has not yet shared why. You may remember production at that facility stopped last month after millions of doses were contaminated. The shots are already on hold across the country. Health officials are looking to see if the vaccine is connected to reports of rare blood clots. CDC vaccine advisors are set to meet Friday to decide whether the shot is safe and can start going in arms again. To business headlines now. The Midwest ranks as the best place to move after college. Researchers at Porch say the Midwest cities tend to have low costs of living and low unemployment rates for recent college graduates. In fact, it ranks Indianapolis as the 12th best city for a college grad to go. It says the median income for starting college grad in Indianapolis is $40,000, and the cost of living is about 9% lower than average. United and Delta will offer seasonal daily service to Iceland and Greece this summer. U.S. tourists do have to prove they are vaccinated against COVID-19. Both countries heavily depend on tourism, and the EU is under pressure to reopen to travelers. Taco Bell said that more than 8 billion sauce packets are used every year in the United States, a massive number that's potentially environmentally damaging. The restaurant chain will launch a recycling pilot program later this year and says participation will be simple and involve free shipping. Experts predict that as barbecues and cookouts return this summer, the supply of pork products could be further stressed. Some experts are predicting that outdoor events like barbecues and cookouts will be extremely popular. Business Insider is reporting that this is due to the fact that while most Americans will be vaccinated by then, they'll likely prefer outdoor events over indoor experiences. There's reportedly been a shortage of pigs for over a year now. And a new feature coming to Venmo is making it easier for users to buy and sell cryptocurrency. A crypto feature to buy and sell Bitcoin and other digital currency. Customers will get to choose between 4 types of cryptocurrency: Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. A local landmark is planning a multi-million-dollar renovation. The Benjamin Harrison Presidential Site is launching a campaign called Old Glory, New Vision. The $6 million plan calls for improvements to the museum grounds and a renovation of the Harrison home with new entryways, walking trails, bike paths, and signs.
We'll be able to layer in all these great educational elements that are really engaging for young families, for school children, to better understand the American system of self-government and learn more about their American history.
Officials say construction will begin in late April or early May. And finally, Wish TV is proud to partner with the MLK Center in Indianapolis as it prepares to celebrate 50 years in the community. They're looking for your help now to fund more than $2 million in renovations to their building in Butler, Tarkington. The MLK Center started in a barbershop in 1973. Since then, its location has changed, but the legacy never has, and the leaders there hope it never will. Nina Criscolo reports on how the programs offered are the true heart of the facility.
That's my mom's birthday.
Decades of history captured in photos.
That's my mom. I was born right around the corner on Berkeley Road.
Man, this is amazing.
Memories and moments made by the MLK Center in Indianapolis.
I can remember being a youth and coming to summer camp here.
Devin Johnson's face is one frozen in time in the pages of albums.
I knew that it was a place I could come hang out with my friends and went on field trips, learned a lot of stuff as a youth.
Now, he's president of the board.
The more I've been involved, the more that I've seen the work that everyone here does, the more that I've been around the youth, the more that I just feel compelled to be around.
A full circle journey, and one that's inspiring Johnson and other leaders at the MLK Center to keep walking the path.
Just to see where we've come from and to where we're going, it's exciting to think about the potential of where we can go.
Well, I love the kids.
Charity Malone dedicates her time to the Turkington Teen Work Crew, just one of the programs at the center.
I get to be myself and they accept me and I get to joke around with them, but at the same time, when they're, struggling with a decision or maybe making a bad choice, I get to support them and kind of steer them back.
It's not just about putting teens to work each summer, but teaching them invaluable lessons and skills.
To me, it's like getting a head start. We're giving you financial literacy, job readiness. You're gonna learn how to write a resume.
They say the building on 40th and Meridian may be the tangible part of the equation in need of repairs and renovations, but it's what happens inside that is absolutely priceless.
A lot of the effort in this place is unmatched. So in order to kind of reflect that effort, reflect kind of the programming, reflect the wonderful people who work here every day, it only makes sense that the building, take that next step as well.
Again, that was Nina Criscuolo reporting. The MLK Center is aiming to raise $2 million. If they raise $1 million, the United Way will chip in another $1 million. You can donate right now at wishtv.com/MLK. You can also give by texting MLK Center to 44321. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
Check out more podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.
allindianapodcastnetwork.com.